Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro presented his annual address to the nation this Tuesday before the newly installed National Assembly. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel has rejected the Trump administration's redesignation of his country as a state sponsor of terrorism, stressing the measure exposes Washington's double standards regarding this issue. House Democrats plans to vote Wednesday to impeach Trump, setting up a recall vote a week after rioters overpowered Capitol Police and violated some of the building's safety areas. From the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Gladys Quesada. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro presented his annual address to the nation this Tuesday. As is established in the Venezuelan Constitution, President Maduro offered his annual State of the Nation address before the newly installed National Assembly. The Constitution establishes that the President of the Republic must offer this review of the economic, social, and political policies of the past year within 10 days of the installation of the National Assembly each January. Since 2017, after the majority opposition National Assembly elected in 2015 was declared in contempt, the President presented his yearly report before the judges of the Supreme Court of Justice and later before the National Constituent Assembly. This Tuesday marks the beginning of the legislative exercise of the new Assembly installed on January the 5th.
The lesson of last December 6th was not just another lesson. It will be remembered as the event that put an end to a period of cruelty and that opened the path to a fertile future for political reconciliation and economic recovery, thanks to that election in which the legislative branch was rescued. 2020 will remain engraved in history as the year in which politics definitely overcame the war, and none other than the very existence of the Republic was preserved.
And the Venezuelan president emphasized that during 2020, the country experienced a huge number of attacks, promoted and carried out by the domestic far right, with the consent and support of these foreign allies.
The pandemic was not the only difficulty that Venezuela had to overcome in the year 2020. Last year, the greatest number of known aggressions were concentrated in the military and paramilitary field of terrorism, organized and materialized by Trump's supporters and the extremist right in Venezuela and Latin America, using as a facade the outgoing National Assembly and with the support and consent of foreign governments like the one that is finishing in the United States, with more pain than glory, and those that are agonizing in Latin America.
And referring to the dispute with Guyana over their shared border and the Essequibo region, the Venezuelan president stressed that the Donald Trump administration intended to hand over the territory in exchange for the recognition by the United Kingdom of Juan Guaidó as the interim president of Venezuela.
Last year, the right wing that supports Trump, today in retreat, resumed its actions to take away the Guyana Essequibo territory from us. By the hand of the criminal puppet, they try to give that territory away in exchange for the recognition of the puppet and failed government by the government of the United Kingdom.
And the Butantan Institute in Brazil assured on Tuesday that the Chinese vaccine against COVID-19, CoronaVac, presented an overall efficacy of 50.38%. The research center in the areas of biology and biomedicine in Brazil, Butantan, noted that the CoronaVac vaccine of the Chinese pharmaceutical Sinovac Biotech will control the contagions but will not eliminate the disease. According to research, CoronaVac meets the minimum 50% of the standard recommended by the WHO, despite the fact that other vaccines have a superior efficacy of 90%. In Chile, the Women and Gender Equity Commission of the Chamber of Deputies will begin this Wednesday the discussion of a bill that seeks to decriminalize abortion until the 14th week of pregnancy. The bill to be discussed aims to modify Article 119 of the Constitution, which authorizes the termination of pregnancy by a doctor. If the constitution were to be modified, abortion will be allowed in case of a rape or if the pregnancy endangers the life of the mother. According to surveys conducted in the country, 56% of Chileans say they agree with abortion in some circumstances, and 27% believe it should be completely allowed. And we'll go now to a short break. Follow us in Twitter at teleSUR English and Gladys teleSUR.
Acompañamos a los pueblos que resisten en cada una de sus luchas.
Somos esa ventana que se abre para visibilizarlos entre fronteras.
Thursdays, only on teleSUR.
Innovation, science, the technological breakthrough and its influence in society.
Viajeros del saber, el futuro está aquí.
Atomy. Monday, only on teleSUR.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Sean todos muy bienvenidos a Vidas. Hay lugares donde el arte se unifica con el orgullo de los pueblos. Y esos lugares están llenos de colores, alegría, pasión, tradiciones, arraigo, valor y entrega.
Real Life. Fridays. Only on teleSUR.
Welcome back to From the South. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel has rejected the Trump administration's redesignation of his country as a state sponsor of terrorism, stressing the measure exposes Washington's double standards regarding this matter. The president pointed out that claiming Cuba is a country that sponsors terrorism represents the height of cynicism. He stressed that the U.S. blockade against Cuba, tightened under the Trump administration, is in itself a policy of state terrorism. According to the president, the inclusion of the island by the United States of this list is the last-ditch attempt of a failed and corrupt administration reliant on the anti-Cuba mafia in Miami to submit the Cuban government to its will. The Director General for the United States at the Cuban Foreign Ministry, Carlos Fernández de Cosillo, offered statements regarding the relations between Cuba and the U.S. over the past 4 years under the Donald Trump administration. Cosillo stated that Cuba's position regarding the United States is well known and pointed out that the economic, commercial, and financial blockade imposes serious limitations to the island's development.
Cuba's position regarding the relationship with the United States is well known. It has been stated by our President, by our Minister of Foreign Affairs. It has been reiterated, and there has not been much change. Now, these past 4 years have been the result of unilateral actions by the Trump administration, deliberate actions aimed at punishing Cuba and aimed at destroying the links between our two countries. It has had an impact for the people of Cuba. It has hurt our economy, it has hurt the well-being of the people of Cuba, and it has also had an impact on the relationship. It has hurt the relationship, and it has hurt the confidence between our two countries.
On Tuesday, Mexican authorities announced the arrival of the 5th shipment of vaccines from the pharmaceutical companies Pfizer-BioNTech against COVID-19. During a press conference, President Andrés Manuel López Obrador announced that the 400,000 doses arrive in a DHL company aircraft and will be applied to the population in the next 4 days to reach 500,000 immunizations in the territory. The Secretary for National Defense, Luis Crescencio Sandoval, explained that vaccines will be distributed in the next hours. And Italy's first batch of Moderna coronavirus vaccines arrived at the Italian Higher Institute of Health in Rome on Tuesday. It is not the first batch of vaccines to arrive in the country. However, if it is the first batch of Moderna vaccines to be sent to Italy. A refrigerated truck carrying the vaccines from Belgium left the Brenner border overnight and traveled to Rome escorted by police cars. The country was allocated 470,000 doses of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. Over 500,000 healthcare workers were among the first vaccinated. The Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte on Tuesday announced he will extend his country's tough 5-week lockdown until February amid concerns that infection rates are not falling quickly enough and fears about the new, more contagious variant first detected in the United Kingdom.
I think that no one will be surprised that today we had to decide to extend the lockdown for 3 weeks until Thursday, February 9, and almost everyone will understand that there was no other choice because the numbers are not falling fast enough and we are not also dealing with the threat of the British corona variant, and we are very concerned about this variant.
The presidents of Ukraine and Moldova supported their respective aspirations of joining the European Union during talks in Kyiv on Tuesday. Both leaders share a common vision for the countries as full members of the EU.
Our countries are united not only by a common border and common past, but also by a common movement and common vision on the future of our countries as full members of the European Union. This is one of the important theses that were fixed during our negotiations.
I'm happy to be in Kiev as president to renew the friendship between our countries at the highest level. Along these years, the dialogue between Moldova and Ukraine between the president of the two states was basically suspended. I underline the fact that Ukraine is a strategic partner for Moldova, and maintaining a constant and pragmatic collaboration with Ukraine is an important objective for Moldova.
And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us.
Una travesía para descubrirnos. Buscamos conexiones perdidas.
No nos queda otra que luchar, porque no tenemos nada que perder.
Realmente es por todos.
Recorremos el mundo con Reportajes TeleSUR.
Saturdays. Only on teleSUR.
为了保持身体健康，我冥想。
Para mantenerme saludable, yo corro.
To keep myself healthy, I study.
Για να διατηρηθώ υγιής, τρέφομαι σωστά.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo bailo.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo purifico mi espíritu a través del cuerpo. ¿Y tú?
Guide your body. Tuesdays, only on teleSUR. teleSUR English presents a weekly program to discuss the political, economic and social issues affecting the Caribbean community. We'll challenge stereotypes and unpack the diversity of the region through the analysis of unique cultures, religions and art. We Caribbean. Wednesdays, only on teleSUR.
Welcome back. House Democrats plan to vote Wednesday to impeach Trump, setting up a recall vote a week after rioters overpowered Capitol Police and violated some of the building's safest areas. The United States House of Representatives recently approved on a resolution calling on Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to strip President Donald Trump of his powers. The vote followed a debate on the resolution. It called on Pence to immediately call on the cabinet to declare Trump unfit for office. After the vice president refused to approve the petition, representatives will start impeachment proceedings against Trump on Wednesday. Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee have released a 76-page staff on the impeachment of Donald Trump in anticipation of Wednesday's debate and vote on articles of impeachment. In it, Democrats point to Trump's continued shrinking of responsibility. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has named the impeachment trial managers, who will be led by Representative Jamie Raskin. And Vice President Mike Pence made clear Tuesday night that he has no plans to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove President Donald Trump from office, in a new letter released just hours ahead of a House vote on a measure urging him to do so. In a letter late Tuesday to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Pence said the mechanism should not be used as a means of punishment or usurpation, as reserved for cases of medical or mental incapacitation. Pelosi has called on Pence to secure the majority of the cabinet and vote to declare Trump unfit to serve. As the House appears on the cusp of a bipartisan impeachment of Trump, Pence encouraged Congress to avoid actions to further divide and inflame the passions of the moment and to focus on smoothing the transition to President-elect Joe Biden's administration. On top, U.S. Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer, speaking during a news conference in Manhattan, New York, stressed that the President Donald Trump encourages violence and then blames others for it.
Insurrectionists who breached the U.S. Capitol fall under the definition of threats to the homeland and should be immediately added to the TSA no-fly list. What President Trump said this morning, showing how despicable president he is. He blamed the violence that he helped cause on others. He blamed the divisiveness that he regularly caused on others. He blamed so much on others. Trump causes the anger. He causes the divisiveness. He phoned the people, the insurrectionists who breached the U.S. Capitol, fall under the definition of threats to the homeland and should be immediately added to the TSA no-fly list. What President Trump said this morning, showing how despicable a president he is. He blamed the violence that he helped cause on others. He blamed the divisiveness that he regularly caused on others. He blamed so much on others. Trump causes the anger. He causes the divisiveness. He phoned the people, the insurrectionists who breached the U.S. Capitol, fall under the definition of threats to the homeland and should be immediately added to the
The attorney for the District of Columbia announced he expects hundreds of criminal cases to be filed in connection with the Wednesday storming of the Capitol by rioting supporters of President Donald Trump.
Significant felony cases tied to sedition and conspiracy. Just yesterday, our office organized a strike force of very senior national security prosecutors and public corruption prosecutors. Their only marching orders from me are to build seditious and conspiracy charges related to the most heinous acts that occurred in the Capitol. And these are significant charges that have felonies with prison terms of up to 20 years.
And Representative Liz Cheney, the third highest-ranking Republican leader in the House, said she will vote to impeach the president over inciting the attack on the U.S. Capitol last week. In a statement on Tuesday, Cheney said that Trump assembled and summoned the mob and lit the flame of the attack on Capitol last week. She also noted that Trump could have immediately intervened to stop his supporters, but didn't. Cheney stressed that there has never been a greater betrayal by the President of the United States of his office and his oath to the Constitution. On Tuesday, the police of the U.S. Capitol announced the suspension of several of their officers who were on duty during the violent raid that occurred last Wednesday at the headquarters of the National Congress. The acting chief of the United States Capitol Police, Ugandan Pittman, further reported that at least 10 other officials are under investigation. Pittman explained that images were found showing some officers and officials taking photographs with members of the mob during the raid. And Ugandans are preparing to vote in Thursday's presidential election, the run-up to which has been marked by violence as security forces try to stop the opposition presidential candidate from campaigning. Challenger of longtime President Yoweri Museveni, Bobi Wine, suggested authorities were using the pandemic as a pretext to unfairly target his rallies while allowing the incumbent to continue campaigning. Opposition figures in Uganda are criticizing widespread violence by security forces ahead of Thursday's presidential election, while one said soldiers raided his home Tuesday morning and arrested his security guards.
I am a presidential candidate and it is my right to campaign to reach out to the voters. While the Electoral Commission claims that Mukono district and Kampala district and Wakiso districts and Masaka and many other districts have been restricted for campaigns. All of you have seen General Museveni campaigning. He was campaigning right here in Wakiso. Yesterday, he was in Busabala campaigning, and shameful enough, he is the one giving orders to stop us from campaigning.
And Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has responded to international criticism of measures adopted by his government and Facebook's closing down of the ruling party's account 2 days before presidential and parliamentary elections, in which he is widely expected to secure another term.
Unfortunately, some of our contestants did not follow the COVID regulations. They were defying the regulation of not congregating, and they were gathering sizable numbers of people, which of course would facilitate infection. If you want to take sides against the NRM, then that group would not operate in Uganda. Uganda is ours, it's not anybody's. Those Facebook and those groups did not respond, I hear, and I'm sure the government has closed the social media. Those channels of Facebook and I don't know which one. This is unfortunate, but it is unavoidable. There's no way anybody can come and play around with our country to decide who is good, who is bad. This one we will stop, this one we cannot accept that.
The World Food Programme said on Tuesday that Madagascar is facing its worst drought in a decade. The UN agency's emergency coordinator in Madagascar said the 2020 harvest had been the worst for 5 years. The crisis follows 3 straight years of drought, as well as a deep recession triggered by the COVID-19 pandemic. Malnutrition rates in the region have risen, forcing children to beg so they can help their families to buy food supplies. The COVID-19 pandemic has added to the hardship, causing seasonal employment to dry up. The World Food Programme is currently supporting 500,000 people without food supplies in Madagascar's 9 southern districts.
Madagascar is facing the worst drought in the past 10 years. And the last harvest, which the main harvest is taking place in April, May every year. And the last harvest in 2020, April, May, has been really one of the worst over the last 5 years. And the households have failed to recover from the impacts of the recurrent droughts.
We still have some of these leaves. When I can't go begging in the neighboring village, we have to go dig under this sand without being sure we'll find anything. Yesterday and today I couldn't go because I feel very weak. When we don't find anything under the sand, we drink seawater. It is bad for our health, but we have no choice because otherwise we will have nothing in our tummy.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Telesur English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.